Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. The coronavirus panic has affected all aspects of our life, it seems. Suddenly, we found our world changed around in ways that we never imagined just weeks ago. Jobs have been lost, vacations have been canceled. Sports has gone the way of the dinosaur, and schools. Our education system is in chaos. So, what do Americans worry about the most? Well, I guess it depends on your situation. Your health, the health of a parent or loved one at risk, maybe. The interruption of the social life we experience normally in America. One thing that most Americans do share as a concern, though, is money. And that includes upcoming benefits and, yes, taxes. If you're sitting there wondering how your taxes will be affected, what benefits are coming because of this ever-changing panic, what the financial future might be for our IRAs or our kids' student loans, well, you're in luck, because I had the privilege recently of catching up with a very busy Esther Gulyas in her office to talk about all these things, and man, am I glad she's keeping up with this stuff. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phil.
And my first question is, this mess that we're going through, how has it affected what you guys do here?
Okay, well, pretty much everything. You know, I have a bag full of cleanser that I keep wiping down my desk, and half of our clients sit in the parking lot, and we are like car hops. We go out, we pick up their forms, we come back, do the return, and bring it to them for signature. The other half, so they come in, they might come in gowns and masks and things, and we got the desk all clean. And a lot of them we're doing over the phone. So, you know, it's scary. You know, people are scared, and I think you can almost feel the fear. And that's, and in many ways it's good, because it's working for people wanting to stay distance, and that's a good thing.
And you know, for people who don't know the process, even under normal circumstances, they can get on the phone and call you, and you can guide them through everything they have to do in order to get this done.
Right, that's right. And especially now with the stimulus package, you don't get the stimulus if you don't file a return. That's something I just learned this morning. It said even people that don't have to file a return need to file a return to get the stimulus. So that's something that it's really important to get out to people, because if you want the money, you got to file a return.
Okay, and the deadlines have been kind of pushed all around.
All the way to July 15th. But the thing is, the money's coming out in the next 3 weeks, so that we should give people.
So you don't have to wait. It's just a matter of you can wait if you want to.
Right, and especially people that owe money.
Okay, and so in terms of getting refunds out to people, is that going to be affected at all? Is that going to be kind of mixed up and slower, or do you think?
Well, we haven't seen that, and everything's so electronic. You know, it's not like you have to have staff to process these things. It's, you know, it's automatic. So we haven't seen any slowing up of refunds. And I know the federal government really wants to get money in the hands of people, because so many people aren't working. The most important thing I think that people are looking at right now is the stimulus money. So who gets it? A single person with income under $75,000 gets $1,200. If it's a married couple under $150,000, they get $2,400. If their income exceeds the 75 or 150 level, based upon what your filing status is, it starts to phase out at 5% for each $100 you go over. So it's around 90-some thousand for a single person, and about 200,000 for a married couple. If you have children under the age of 17, you get $500 for them, up to 2. So really, you're looking at a married couple wages. Adjusted gross income. It's not taxable income. It's adjusted gross income. Under 150, they'll get 24 plus $1,000, $3,400 in the next couple of weeks. And if you've been directly depositing, they're going to direct deposit to you.
And I have a couple of college-age students that have worked, and they don't have huge incomes. They're like 21 years old. How does it affect them?
So if daddy's claiming them, they don't get anything.
Right.
So if you've been claimed as a dependent, no matter what your age is, let's say, for instance, grandma lives with you, and grandma isn't claimed as a dependent, but she's got Social Security and some taxable income, then she's gonna get $1,200, right? As long as she's under the income level. But let's say grandma is your dependent, and you claimed her as a dependent, then she won't get anything.
And this goes by last year's taxes?
Well, they are looking at this year's taxes first, and then they look at last year's if you haven't filed yet. So that's why you want to get in to file.
Okay, so if you filed this year, they'll go by how you file it this year?
That's exactly right.
Okay. That's interesting. What about New York State rules? Are they affected much? Have they changed?
Well, New York State is pushing back till July the 15th as well. So you don't have to pay your federal till July 15th. You don't have to pay New York State till July 15th. And obviously with some of the changes in unemployment, the state of New York is also allowing for the first time ever people that are self-employed to collect unemployment. I mean, so if you're affected by the coronavirus and you can't work, in New York State, you get unemployment for the first time ever.
What's the
and
most...
that's what's so important to me, is that there are so many tentacles to this octopus that really the whole thing is they're trying to get something, they want to prime the pump again. And so they want to get money into your hands. So we have stimulus money, we have unemployment money. The unemployment that they're going to give you this year is whatever the state's going to give you plus $600. So you think about it, you're going to get like $1,000 a week while you're going back to work. Because that's so that you can make your house payments, so you can buy the groceries, so that you can pay for things. They're trying to get people so that they have hope. And that's what I want people to see is we got to have hope. If we don't have hope, what do we got, you know?
Well, this thing changes almost by the day. Do you see anything coming in the next weeks or months that are going to influence what we're going through now? Any more changes?
Well, I think that if this doesn't happen, if the economy is still bad, well, I mean, obviously time is not our friend, because if they keep pushing this back because the coronavirus is continuing to grow, then the stimulus money is just going to kind of let people dog paddle. I think they really wanted it to move the economy forward, but if people still aren't working, then it's a problem. So you got your stimulus money, then you have your unemployment money, then there's sick pay that you can get. If you're sick with coronavirus, or if you're caring for somebody with coronavirus, or if your child is sick with coronavirus and you can't work, you get sick pay from your employer if you're from an employer of less than 500, of up to $511 a day. So there you got the unemployment tentacle, you got the sick pay tentacle, you got the direct stimulus tentacle. Then there's also this year that you don't have to worry about paying your student loan interest until the end of September. You don't have to worry about your house being foreclosed upon. I mean, there are all these things. And for us seniors, you don't have to do your RMD this year. This is really big. Those of you that are over the age of 70 and a half, 72 now actually, who were going to take out your required minimum distribution, you don't have to do it. This year you don't have to worry about it. So that's good, because the RMD would have been based on the fair market value as of December 31st. You don't have to worry about it. So that's another thing.
How do you keep up with all this? I mean, it changes
I love it.
so quick.
Are you kidding? I'm a person that likes to help people. And so the only way I can help people is to know what the heck is going on. Because really, the little guy, the average Joe, might hear about it 6 months over the fence when it's too late. And so what I'm about is making sure that anybody in Western New York knows what it might take a long time in another market to hear about. And so that's why I get excited about it.
And if you give to charity in a situation like this, is it basically the same
No,
rules?
that changed too. Another tentacle. Okay, so now under the current tax law for 2019, you can take 60% of your income and give it away to charity, because so many people are relying on charities. Under this change in the stimulus package, you give 100% away of your income and have it be tax deductible. And if you're somebody that doesn't itemize, there's a $300 above the line deduction for, just like school teachers would be for their things that they bring in the classroom. So that's another charity thing. So charities changed.
Wow. Okay, and now for businesses, there's also a whole different
And
set of
then
rules.
all the small businesses out there they don't know what to do. You want to go to the SBA, there's two types of programs. There's the COVID virus program where that's the incident, and they will loan you up to I think it's $2 million, and the interest rate is 3.75% maximum. Then there's another one that's a grant. So there's two types of things that the small business owner wants to make sure that they do yesterday, because you want to get in line for that money. The second one, the grant, is if you're it's to help you pay your staff to keep them working.
And I'd seen an interview with one of the senators, and he said something about these loans you go through your lending institution, not necessarily the SBA.
That's true.
Okay, so how does that work? Is the SBA still?
SBA is guaranteeing it. It's just like you can do an FHA mortgage
Okay.
at M&T or Key Bank, and so the Federal Housing Administration guarantees the loan. But yes, you would apply. You start off with the SBA, and then you go to your bank for the funding.
No.
Now, and that's really kind of a problem, because right now the banks have limited staff. So this whole thing, you want to be poised to jump on it when we see this stuff getting better.
Wow. When people come to you, any customers, during the last few weeks, what's been the most common questions that they've been asking?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, everything was like business as usual. People, but then 10 days ago, they just said, everybody has to stay home. So, except for businesses such as ours that are considered to be essential. So they, on one side, you have to file a tax return to get the stimulus. On the other side, there's fear. So what we've seen is people saying, are you really open? Can we send our stuff? Can we drop off our stuff? Should we email our stuff? And so we've done everything that we can do to accommodate people. But my own operation, I had 15 people last week come in crying, Esther, can't be here. If you can't be here, we understand. But we lost our own. Some of my staff was 30 years with me, and they really know taxes, and they're sitting home. I can't use them because of the coronavirus.
Is this all going to go back to normal, do you think, in a...
God, I hope so. I hope so.
Where do you see, what's your take on the fact that there is so much money being pumped into the economy? There's pluses and minuses to that.
Well, the minus is we just tripled the budget deficit.
Is that going to influence the value of the dollar because of inflation?
I mean, look at poor Canada. Canada's like the Canadian dollar to the U.S. dollar, because their economy's based on oil. They're really having a tough time. I wouldn't want Mnuchin, I think that's how I pronounce his name, job because talk about a juggling act. I'm sure that they prayed that this would work, but so much of it has to do with the timing of when the coronavirus. They had to get the money out for the people, but it could just be. You take a look at people's 401k plans, the stock market. There has to be. People have to feel good about the opportunity to get back into the market, to get back into jobs, that restaurants are going to reopen. And that's why this stimulus package I'm so excited about, because it's the first piece of good news we've had in a month and a half.
Well, we've talked about this. I just want to reiterate, this is such uncharted territory that normally for the people who do their own taxes, who think, well, this is simple, I know what I'm doing, and it's just a simple form. Under these circumstances, almost everything has changed.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, we don't just do a tax return. We do a tax return, and while we're doing your tax return, we say, oh, do you know what the stimulus is? This is what you're gonna get stimulus. But if we put money in an IRA, you're gonna get more stimulus money, because we still have till the end of tax season to put money into a traditional IRA, which then reduces your adjusted gross income, which then increases your stimulus. So now you're saving money in taxes, plus you're getting the extra 5% because you put your money in an IRA. So it's not like we just do a tax return. We do a tax return, we say to the small business guy, we gotta get you signed up for the SBA loan. I mean, it's not just taxes, it's like all encompassing, and that's really what we wanna do.
Well, I guess, we can kind of sum it up by saying that you guys are specialists in reading the fine print.
We try.
That nobody else can.
Well, by the time, let's face it, it's like having a muddy, you got a pool or a river, and it's all muddy because there's so much happening, and you really can't see the stuff at the bottom. So, but what we do is we clarify what just went on so that we know what's happening, so we can let people know immediately instead of having to wait for the dust to settle.
What about people out there that are thinking about this, who've never really dealt with a professional tax preparer, and they're wondering, can they afford to have somebody do their
and we're
taxes?
cheap. I mean, we are cheap. We're like half price of everybody else. I don't have anybody to send the money to. The most important thing is that we take care of our staff, and they're happy, and our clients are happy, and we're so thankful because we're the largest tax preparer in the city, in this neck of the woods, so to speak. So I think it's because we do a good job. We really care about the people, and the fees are affordable. So, that's what we try to do.
Well, I can imagine the two advantages that really come to mind is you stay out of trouble and you maximize your return.
Well, that's true, and you also learn about what's coming down the pike, because it's not just what's happening now; it's what happens next year. Like, for instance, if I was doing your return, I would say, now next year this year make sure you don't do your required minimum distribution. Here it is, the beginning of April, and people have already taken money out of their IRAs because they knew they had to. Those people, too bad, they shouldn't have done it. So, you get an opportunity to say, don't do this, prepare for this, and make a plan, because you want to plan if you can.
Well, that's the point. You're not just a tax preparer. You have other services that you do. I mean, for instance, do you do estate planning?
Yeah, we do and we have a lot of professional, like attorneys and things that we work with, and we recommend, but we help you we do budgeting, we do all kinds of seminars all year round to help people so that they know how to get their kids to college, how to pay for college, things of that nature, what to do with your investments. And especially now, with people are afraid to look at their financial statements, you want to make sure that you have knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Wow.
I don't know
about New York State, we talked a lot about in general and federal. Is there anything in New York State that kind of varies from?
Okay, well, so we can talk about once everything's cleared up. The July is passed. Then what happens traditionally is those returns that have been sent in are compared against the information that has been provided to the federal and state, and then they start sending you letters. Okay, if you get a letter during the summer, and that's usually when letters come out, don't ignore the letter. That's the way that they communicate with you. And so what they do is the burden of proof is on the taxpayer. So they start off with, we're disallowing this. That they hit the ball to your side of the court. Now you can sit there and say, oh, I just don't feel like answering this. Well, then you've just cost yourself a deduction. So what you need to do is then you prove that what they're asking about is true. You send the ball back to their court. They go, oh, okay, but we still have a question about this. Then you answer that. And eventually, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times, back and forth where the deduction is clarified and it's fine. If you don't answer their letter when they send it to you, you just lost. So you make sure, and EG Tax helps people with those letters. Just come on in, even if we didn't do the return, we'll help you to communicate.
Okay, that's great.
And the state of New York is notorious for that. And don't assume that the letter's right, because I would say at least 50% of the time the letter is wrong or partially wrong.
It's tough to get in touch with people in New York State on any level, to talk to them or to try and reason with them or to ask questions. If you've ever tried to get through on a phone to an official in New York State to get a question answered, it's not easy.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And that all works in the revenue collection, of which they are very keen at, you know.
Governor Cuomo is basically, I think, benefiting. It's kind of a tough situation, and it's a tragic situation, but he's benefiting in some ways from this whole situation because of federal funds coming in.
That's right, because once it was declared a federal disaster, then all this disaster aid comes in, and then that helps to balance your budget.
So the state, in the end, is going to benefit from this financially, do you think?
Well, I mean, they're going to get a lot of money, so... And I knew that the state was having budgetary problems, so this should help the state.
What's the difference within the state? If you're living here in Western New York as opposed to down in New York City, are there different things to consider, or is it pretty much the same all the way around the state?
Well, no, in New York City, you pay city taxes, state taxes, and federal taxes. So it's extremely expensive to live in New York City proper.
Well, we have county taxes and state taxes.
Well, they got county, they got school, they got everything that we do, and sales taxes, but they have that added burden of paying a New York City tax.
I'd like to thank Esther Gulyas for being my guest on The Big Picture. Every time I talk to Esther, I'm so impressed with her energy and knowledge. I walk away amazed that someone actually understands all these things. Thanks again to Esther, and we'll be back right after this.